on gun laws of the US. I'm joined by Robert Spitzer. He's a Professor Emeritus of Political Science at SUNY Cortland. He's written extensively on the subject and is the author of 5 books on gun policy. Once again, Robert, great to have you on the program. Now, how far do you feel that this legislation will go to tackle gun violence in the US?
I think the legislation offers some meaningful steps. They're obviously limited steps. As your setup pointed out, it's less than President Biden wanted and certainly less than many gun safety advocates wanted. But if you look at some of the key measures, for example, I would highlight the emphasis or the provision that attempts to close what's called the boyfriend loophole. That is to say, to get at gun violence that occurs among intimate partners, because existing law covers some of those relationships. If you're married, if you live in a home with a person, if you have children with the person. But if you're not in those categories, but you're still an intimate or a boyfriend, if you will, the law did not cover you. And advocates have been trying to get this changed for at least 5 years. And that arguably could be the most significant provision of this entire bill. In addition, the extra focus on greater background checks of those who are younger than 21, in particular looking at mental health records, juvenile records, could also be very important because the age category, if you break down crime by age and violent crime by age, the age category that commits the highest rate of crimes is 18 to 21. So that definitely calls for greater scrutiny. That's provided here, and that's a good thing. Is it a panacea? No, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And the same might be said of other provisions, too.
What about given the fact that military-style weapons weren't on the table for this piece of legislation, given the fact that even Buffalo and Uvalde, 2 cases where the gunman used a military-style weapon to carry out the shooting, is there a possibility that just by having access to these kinds of weapons, we're going to see mass killings like this time and time again?
Well, surely it is likely that we will continue to see mass killings, I hate to say it, and in addition that assault-type weapons will continue to be used. It's important to note that generally speaking in gun crime, most gun crime is committed with handguns, but assault weapons are a favorite weapons of mass shooters. That is a matter of great concern. Right now, I believe around 7 states have laws restricting access to assault weapons and large capacity ammunition magazines, but those provisions may be under legal threat given the Supreme Court's expansion of gun rights ruling this past Thursday. So that is a monkey wrench by itself that could impede the ability to restrict those weapons in at least some states.
Yeah, perhaps you could help break this contradiction down for us. The laws enacted, this law today came, of course, the same week that the Supreme Court struck down a New York law limiting the right to carry a firearm outside the home. Now, today's legislation being signed by Biden is a wonderful PR exercise, but in reality, how long is this going to be on the books without a constitutional challenge?
Well, for the measure that Biden signed, there's good reason to believe that gun rights advocates and zealots will be filing lawsuits against all kinds of gun laws, including those that are not in play, so to speak, with respect to the Supreme Court's decision on Thursday expanding gun rights, because they now feel emboldened because this court majority has now expanded the definition of gun rights, unprecedented in American history, I should say, and against our own legal and political history, a fact that the decision tries to avoid in its ruling. But it certainly will embolden more legal challenges for all kinds of things, and it is possible, although I don't think it will happen, but it's possible, for example, that these red flag laws, which are in this new, it's just really only funding for the states to encourage them to adopt red flag laws, could face a legal challenge simply because there were no red flag laws in the 19th or 18th century, because it wasn't a thing at that time. And strictly speaking, the court is saying what really matters is the historical legal record. Will that happen? Certainly for a bill that simply provides funding, I don't think so, but it will definitely embolden challenges of state and federal laws, gun laws.